will worship before me, all will be yours. And Jesus answered and said to him, get behind me, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only, not the Lord your God and someone else. You shall worship the Lord your God. Surprising how the devil, who is a created being, was asking Jesus, who is the creator of everything, to bow down and worship him. Glory be to the name of the Lord. He was asking Jesus to bow down and to worship him. But Jesus' answer was, it is written that the only person, the only entity that is supposed to receive worship, it is not a man, it is not an angel, it is not an institution, it is only God. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So if our worship is not unto God, then our worship is in error. Our worship is in vain. The only person, the only one to be worshipped, it is God and God alone. Look at Acts chapter number 10. The book of Acts chapter number 10. Glory to Jesus. Only God and him alone is to be worshipped. Verse number 24. And the following day they entered Caesarea. Now Cornelius was waiting for them and had called together his relatives and close friends. As Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. Look at what Peter did, verse 26. But Peter lifted him up, saying, stand up. I myself am also a man. Peter is saying to Cornelius, I am not worthy to receive worship. Stand up from your feet. Don't bow down to me. Don't worship me. I myself, I am also a man. Why? Only God is to be worshipped. Cornelius was falling down in worship to a fellow man. And Peter, realizing this, he lifted Cornelius up and instructed him that your worship is supposed to be by God, because even me, I'm a man just like you. Revelation 22. Revelation 22. Worship is unto God and unto God alone. Glory to Jesus. Verse 8. Now I, John, saw and heard these things, and when I heard and saw, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel who showed me these things. Then he said to me, see that you do not do that. Why? For I am your fellow servant and of your brethren, the prophets, and of those who keep the words of this book. Worship God. Worship God. John, after he had been shown revelations of what was to come, he fell down to worship this being that was before him. And the angel said to him, I will not allow you to do that. Stand upon your feet. Do not do that. I am your fellow servant and of your brethren and of those who keep the words of this book. And he told him, worship God. Glory be to the name of the Lord. Tell your neighbor, worship is for God. Glory be to the name of the Lord. Many people will want to be worshipped. The devil will want to be worshipped, but worship is a preserve of God. Worship is a preserve only for God and for God alone. Glory be to the name of the Lord. Now, we cannot worship God without revelation, where we start in the book of John chapter number 4. The Samaritan woman told Jesus, you Jews go to worship in Jerusalem. We worship in this mountain, but as far as you are concerned, you say that Jerusalem is the place to worship. Jesus said, neither in Jerusalem nor in this mountain is the place for worship. It is not about a geographical location. Worship has to do with a revelation of who God is, if you can take us back to John chapter number 4. Worship is a revelation of who God is. Glory be to the name of the Lord. And without this, we will struggle to worship in the right way. We will struggle to worship God in the way that is supposed to worship. He said, you worship what you do not know. Verse 22. You are worshiping, yes, but your worshiping is not as a result of a revelation of who God is. It is important for every worshiper to have got the knowledge, to have got the revelation of who God is, so that you are not moved by circumstances to worship. You will not worship because you are happy. You will not worship because you have a harvest around you, because money is flowing. But you will worship regardless of what is happening, so that when things around you are not pointing out to anything good, you will still worship because you have known God. You have a revelation of God. So Jesus told her, you worship, chapter 4 verse 22, you worship what you do not know. But we worship what we know. We worship what we know. He said, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers. Now, if there are true worshippers, there must be false worshippers. Glory be to the name of the Lord. Either they are worshiping false gods, or they are worshiping the wrong way. But the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. The Father is seeking the people that will worship him in the spirit, that will worship him in the truth. The Spirit of the Lord leads us to all the truth. When we are worshiping without the Spirit, we are worshiping in error. It is false worship. But by the Spirit of God, we are able to worship. He said, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Glory be to the name of the Lord. So revelation is key in worship. Revelation is needed in worship. Acts of Apostles 17. Acts 17, 23. Revelation is key in worship. Let's start from verse 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of the Areopagus and said, men of Athens, I perceive that in all ways you are very religious. Now, religion is not worship. He said, you are very religious, for as I was passing through and considering the objects of your worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. Therefore, the one whom you worship without knowing, I proclaim him to you. God